First and foremost, it just revealed the kind of character that we have. The toughness, the relentless spirit.
Is the fairy tale season for the Indiana Fever already becoming a nightmare? A startling notion that Coach Stephanie White is about to make a choice so extreme and contentious that it might send shockwaves through the whole league is tearing across the sports world only weeks into the most anticipated WNBA season in history. The target is none other than their talented rookie, Caitlin Clark, along with important members of her supporting cast like Lexie Hull and Sophie Cunningham. The whispers have grown into roars following a demoralizing loss to the Dallas Wings. Everyone is wondering not only whether she will do it, but also what will happen to the WNBA and the Fever if she does. A golden age of sold-out arenas, record-breaking viewership, and the Indiana Fever's return to championship contention was the promise of the Caitlin Clark era. The transition from collegiate legend to professional winner is a dangerous one, and the bright lights of success can cast some very dark shadows, something that no one wanted to acknowledge. It all began with a game that was meant to be another step forward but turned into a huge setback, a public collapse that might have compelled the coach to take action. There was more to the game versus the Dallas Wings than just a scheduled loss. The entire system failed, and it was broadcast live for everyone to witness. The Fever appeared to be fully overwhelmed, outmatched, and outthrust from the first tip. Eric Ogunbowl, an experienced veteran determined to give the novices a harsh lesson, played like a woman possessed. She continuously targeted Indiana's defense, which appeared to give up easily at the rim, rotate late, and miss assignments as a result of the pressure. However, the truth is, Caitlin Clark's performance was the one where cameras zoomed in on the bench and commentators examined every nuance. She continued to score points, demonstrating her unquestionable skill, but she also repeatedly coughed up the ball. These weren't only violent errors. Careless dribbles were snatched away in the open court, and telegraphed passes were easily picked off. Her team's and the home crowd's vitality was drained by each turnover, which felt more depressing than the last. Not only could you see the frustration building on Clark's face, but you could also see it on the expressions of her teammates and, most significantly, Stephanie White, her coach. His expression changed from worry to sheer, unbridled rage. This was more than just a squad having a bad night. It was a team displaying serious, underlying weaknesses. The offensive, which was supposed to be a powerful machine centered around Clark, was disorganized and chaotic. On every play, the defense was a step behind Dallas due to its porous nature. With each missed shot and careless pass, the chemistry that had been so promising in a matter of seconds seemed to completely vanish. The scoreboard displayed a story of defeat as the last bell went off, but the court's body language showed something far more disturbing. A team that appeared lost, a crisis of confidence. Nobody realized that this one catastrophic defeat would set off a blaze that might devour the players' entire season as they left the court with their heads bowed. However, that devastating loss was just the beginning of the tale, the spark that ignited the fuse. At the press conference following the game, the true bombshell was revealed. These times are frequently used by coaches to lessen the blow, discuss lessons learned, move on, and shield their players from criticism. Stephanie White took the opposite action. With a look that could freeze fire, she approached the microphone and issued a warning to her entire crew. Her statements were like laser-guided rockets directed right at the center of the starting lineup. She didn't need to mention names. The implication was brutally obvious when she talked about the urgent need for accountability and how some players need to quickly understand what it takes to win at this level. She had had enough. Reporters in the room observed that her tone was angry, the kind of restrained wrath that precedes a storm, rather than just disappointed. She emphasized that no amount of skill can compensate for basic errors and a lack of focus, speaking of an abhorrent lack of discipline and a total failure to carry out a basic game plan. This was a clear jab at the careless play that had afflicted her squad, particularly the high turnover rate that had turned into their weakness and caused them to bleed to death. Analysts and insiders started deciphering her message right away, and the conclusion was unavoidable. She was making threats to shake things up in the most striking manner imaginable. This was a coach drawing a boundary rather than defending her athletes. Her message was straightforward. The days of pampering their rookie sensation were over. The days of putting up with thoughtless, stupid errors were over. Regardless of their name, draft position, or commercial appeal, Stephanie White was indicating that playtime was over and that if her starters were unable to do the task, she would find a combination of players who could. By implying that championship habits aren't created on highlight clips and that you can't talk about winning until you stop giving games away, she essentially dared the media to read between the lines. What transpired next would throw the rumor mill into unmanageable overdrive. The press conference was a declaration of war against mediocrity. This immediately led to the most unimaginable conjecture of all, a possibility so extreme that it resembled a real-life fantasy sports headline. The notion that Caitlin Clark might be benched by Stephanie White. Take a moment to consider that. The face of the league, the generational talent who is solely credited with revitalizing and revolutionizing interest in the WNBA, might be sent to the sidelines to begin a game and made to watch from the bench. This is the ultimate choice in the realm of athletics. A coach's ultimate power move is to bench a star player, especially one of Clark's caliber, sending a cruel and unmistakable message to the entire company that the team is superior to any individual. For Clark, it would be an unprecedented public humiliation and a direct threat to the messiah-like reputation she has maintained since her undergraduate days. However, for a coach like Stephanie White, it might be viewed as an unpleasant but necessary procedure to save the patient. Turnovers have been a recurring issue that has caused games to be lost. Her errors are costing the team possessions and, eventually, games, despite her amazing offensive production and ability to bend defenses. A brief, severe setback, like as being benched, might be the wake-up call she needs to finally adapt her game to the professional level and realize that the high-risk, high-reward tactics that worked against college-level competition are frequently deadly bets against the world's top players. However, the concept itself carries unthinkable risk. Clark is more than simply a player. She is the league's one-woman stimulus package and economic powerhouse. Every game she participates in sells out arenas and generates previously unimaginable television ratings. Millions of new fans may view benching her, even for the first 5 minutes of a game, as a betrayal, and the front management of the team may have made a commercially disastrous choice. This battle between two opposing forces is the main conflict Stephanie White is dealing with. Is she in charge of a basketball team's wins and losses as its coach? Or is she in charge of TV deals and ticket sales as the guardian of a worldwide brand? Her anger at the press conference implies that she is only thinking about the former. She is aware that the Caitlin Clark hype train will eventually run out of steam if the team continues to lose. In professional sports, winning is the only currency that really counts, therefore she might be prepared to take a chance on a brief media frenzy and a significant public backlash in order to create a long-term winner. Clark is not the end of the rumored shuffle. With players like Lexie Hull and even All-Star center Aaliyah Boston being thrown into the fire, it is really anticipated that its tentacles would extend far into the starting lineup. This implies that White believes the lack of cohesiveness and defensive identity among the starting unit as a whole, rather than just one player's rookie difficulties, is the issue. Lexie Hull has occasionally had trouble containing the league's dynamic guards despite frequently being assigned the vital defensive duty of protecting the opponent's top perimeter player. Although she is a tough player, has she been a bit slow when it comes to rotations? In crucial situations, has she been beaten off the dribble too easily? The coaching team is definitely asking these kinds of inquiries. When she isn't making her shots, she might be a problem because to her uneven offensive output. But what's really startling and illustrates the severity of the situation is the mention of Aaliyah Boston in these rumors. Before Clark, the current Rookie of the Year and the team's future, arrived, Boston was the team's undeniable cornerstone. It was anticipated that Boston's inside domination and Clark's perimeter prowess would form the league's most formidable combination, an inside-out force that would intimidate opponents for the ensuing 10 years. But the connection on the court has been a clumsy, difficult process. In an attack that is now solely focused on Clark's high volume, Boston has experienced a sharp decline in her offensive touches, frequently appearing as a secondary option or even an afterthought.